Greetings viewers, I am Arrianna Mahase. I will be presenting my final year research on Chatbots, an efficient tool for concept clarification in large classrooms considering students' comfort, ease of use, and peer-to-peer simulation. My supervisor is Ms. Vineeta Persaud. I will now walk you through the entire project from problem to evaluation. With growing global student populations from 216 million students in 2016 to an estimated 594 million in 2040, more large classroom sizes are arising, which range, for instance, in countries like France, from 300 to 1,000 students. With this comes a host of problems like students lacking adequate attention in classrooms and feeling shy or uncomfortable to ask for clarification when they need it. In large classrooms such as these, students are forced to continue lessons lost when they miss important concepts. Over the years, different methods of clarification has been used. These include tutorial sessions after class, the use of clickers, and of course, one of the focuses of this research, teaching assistants, or TAs, which we will refer to them as for the rest of this presentation. Many of the approaches to concept clarification requires reinforcement outside the classroom. However, it is important that students ask questions during the lecture session and not after. One reason for this is that students should not be forced to sit through a lesson if he or she does not understand what is being taught because a concept was missed. Also, it is likely that students will forget their questions before attending a tutorial session or communicating with the TA outside the classroom. So what are we aiming for? We wish to determine whether chatbots are more efficient than teaching assistants in large classrooms as it relates to concept clarification, and to find out how the use of natural language processing can improve the efficiency of communication between chatbots and students as it relates to concept clarification. One proposed approach to the problem is chatbots. Universities like Georgia Tech and Stanford have seen great success with their implementations of virtual TAs. Both universities were able to simulate a teaching assistant to answer FAQs and assignment details, etc. Given their success, why not introduce a virtual teaching assistant in the classroom to clarify concepts? The proposed chatbot can be easily accessed through the web and answers with short responses in a friend-like manner to help students catch up quickly without much distraction from the actual lecture session. The chatbot was built using Google's Dialogflow. Dialogflow allows you to build chatbots quickly by just adding your dataset, questions and responses, in the form of intents, which has training phrases and responses. This is an example of an interaction with Jody. You can greet, ask questions, thank the chatbot, and bid goodbyes, and of course receive responses. The chatbot was evaluated by the students of ITE 2200. The class was taught using video lectures for each topic. The students were asked to simulate a lecture-like environment by not pausing the video but letting it play throughout and utilizing the chatbot. They were then given a questionnaire to complete based on their experience. Additional data was also collected from the Dialogflow console, where you can find complete conversations, durations, etc. Please note that due to our current social regulations, this project was not evaluated in the ideal way. Ideally, it was to have students test the chatbot in a lecture environment, a TA performing duties during the session, and more student participation. Unfortunately, this was not possible. Students had to depend on their past experiences of TAs. There were 10 observations in the survey, with the majority of students between 16 to 26 years. Those students were offered an extra 5 marks towards their course grades. Completing the questionnaire was completely voluntary, hence the very small number of responses. Let's now look at the statistics retrieved. We'll do it in 2 parts. The first ranks the evaluations and findings for research question number 1, which is, are chatbots more efficient than teaching assistants in large classrooms as it relates to concept clarification? Efficiency was measured along 4 variables: how comfortable students are asking questions to the TA versus a chatbot, how often the TA is able to clarify concepts versus a chatbot, which method students perform more, and whether students would be able to use a chatbot during lecture sessions. Starting with comfort, when asking TAs questions, 60% of the students responded that they were comfortable asking questions to the TA, while 40% felt scared that they should know it already. In the case of the chatbot, 88.9% of the students felt comfortable, while 1% or 11.1% did not. Comparing the TA and chatbot, students are more comfortable using a chatbot than a TA. When clarification is considered, 60% of the students responded that TAs are able to often or always clarify concepts. While the chatbot was able to clarify concepts often for 50% of the students, the chatbot falls short by 10% when compared to the TA. Not surprisingly, students preferred TAs more than chatbots, with 66.7% of students selecting TAs as their preference over 33.3% for chatbots. The final variable is whether students would be able to use the chatbot during class time to clarify concepts. All of the students responded yes. Based on the statistics, it was found that students are more comfortable asking questions to the chatbot than the TA, but the TA is a little more likely to clarify concepts for students than the chatbot. Also, even though they would all use the chatbot in the classroom, they still prefer TAs much more than the chatbot. The chatbot succeeded in 2 of the 4 variables, comfort and use, but fell short in clarification and preference. It can be drawn from this information that chatbots are efficient when it comes to concept clarification in large classrooms, but TAs are also efficient and students prefer them more. When asked why, students responded that TAs are able to give detailed explanations and in-depth discussions. This suggests that they are referring to tutorial sessions outside of the classroom, but that is not the scope of this project. From these findings, we can conclude that for research question number 1, that chatbots are more efficient inside the classroom but cannot replace TAs altogether. The second part of this evaluation deals with answering research question number 2. How can the use of natural language processing improve the efficiency of communication between chatbots and students as it relates to concept clarification? This simply means how can using relatable examples and friendlier language improve the ability to clarify concepts? The data to answer this question was pulled from a comparison of the type of language TAs used to clarify concepts and how comfortable students were asking questions, as well as between the language of the TA used to clarify concepts and how often they were able to clarify those concepts. The language of TAs was divided into 3, using relatable examples and references, using lecture-like language, and using familiar terms and slangs. Only 20% of students responded that the TA used strictly professional lecture-like language. This is the main focus of this part of the evaluation. A chi-square test was used to determine whether there was a relationship between the language of the TA and how comfortable students are to ask questions to the TAs. The test resulted in a p-value of 0.1322, which suggests that there is no relationship between the two. The same test was used to determine whether there was a relationship between the language of the TA and how often TAs were able to clarify concepts. The test resulted in a p-value of 0.3623, which also suggests that there is no relationship between the two variables. Using the p-values of each of the tests, we can determine that there is no relationship between the TA's language and how comfortable students are or how often concepts are clarified. However, these results may not be accurate since the dataset lacks an adequate number of observations to calculate a correct p-value. Such tests require at least 5 counts per category. From visual comparisons, however, of the 2 observations where TAs used lecture-like language, both students were found to be scared when asking questions and rarely or sometimes got clarification. So just a quick summary to wrap things up. The main aim of this project is finding a tool that will allow students to catch up in class when they miss a concept. Students should not have to sit through a class lost and have to wait until after the class for clarification. 2 answers were defined, and those were: chatbots are indeed efficient inside the classroom as it relates to concept clarification. Also, there is no relationship between TA's language and the student's comfort and ability to clarify concepts based on statistical tests, but based on visual observation, there may be. It can be concluded that while chatbots cannot completely replace TAs at current, they can complement TAs by relieving in-class concept clarification work. In the future, I wish that this project can be re-evaluated to retrieve better data. Thank you.